Good evening. Hello. Wow. The group got quiet fast. Thank you. We do have a lot to get through quickly, so I'll jump right into it. First, I just want to welcome everyone to the second all-time ever women-powered event here at Phoenix Art. And my name is Nikki DeLeon Martin, and I have the great privilege to serve as the museum's deputy director and chief advancement officer. So I'm thrilled to be here. I've been with the museum about 13 years, and this is my favorite event we've ever done here. So that's right. So thank you. I'm going to do a couple housekeeping things just to let you know that, as you can imagine from walking in, the exits are back there, but there is one disability accessible exit down in the front too if you should need to dip out. The closest restrooms are in Cat's Main, which if you don't work here means nothing to you. So if you go out these main doors, you'll keep going to the right and you'll run into the restrooms. Okay, because this event is about stories that define leaders, I'm going to tell you one last thing about housekeeping. I'm going to tell it to you in a story. Last year, the person who did the introduction and housekeeping items like I'm doing right now told everyone, check your phone, make sure it's off, or that the ringer's off. And that person said, look at your phone and be sure, because if you think your ringer's off, that definitely means it's still on. And everybody laughed, just like here. Well, one person didn't take that advice and look at her phone, and that phone started ringing during the question and answer period. And that person is me. So, if it can happen to me, who planned the event, it can happen to any of us. So, I just really want everyone to be able to enjoy the joyful community that we created here. And if you can set all the problems and challenges of the world and life aside for an hour just to be together, you'll really love it. So please check your phone, actually check it. And I did check mine, just so you know. So, like 6 times. Okay. Tonight, I have the great honor to introduce you all to the amazing woman who is going to lead our panel tonight as a moderator and a panelist herself, and that is Ashley Kelly. This crowd is like the ultimate ego boost. Oh, wonderful. I love it. Okay. So Ashley serves as vice president and senior business consultant for JPMorgan Chase, which has been a huge supporter of the museum since we first opened in 1959. Ashley brings more than 20 years expertise in business and commercial banking with a focus on empowering small businesses to thrive. Her current work centers on supporting minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses by addressing critical challenges such as access to capital, procurement opportunities, and information. Through tailored mentoring and strategic guidance, Ashley fosters growth and resilience within these communities while advancing the bank's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusivity. Recognized as a leader in her field, Ashley has been honored with Phoenix Business Journal's 40 Under 40 Award, which is very badass, and also has been named a nominee for Greater Phoenix Chamber's 2024 Athena Award. Nominee. Yeah. Yes. And Ashley is a co-chair of the Bold, Arizona Business Resource Group and serves on the boards of the Black Chamber of Arizona and of Young and Empowered Women. So, that's Ashley. So Ashley's going to lead our discussion tonight, which will last about 50 minutes, 50, and then we'll allow about 10 to 15 minutes for questions at the end, and we'll have some mics roaming around at that point. So without further ado, Ashley.
Thank you. I do not like hearing my stuff on paper like that. It makes me uncomfortable. But I am so excited and grateful for the honor to be here and to moderate this panel for Women's History Month. Let's just take a moment and look at the people around us and understand how important community is and to support one another right now. I think this is a time when we need to come together and to really do that. I've been in the financial industry for a long time. Don't add it. I know. Just don't add it. It's fine. But I've seen a lot of the changes, and I've seen a lot of stuff that happens when you think about businesses, individuals, different things like this. The biggest thing that we need to remember is community and to support. You never know what someone's going through, so we have to give each other grace and just allow people to not be okay sometimes and just be there for them when they're not there. So I'm going to stop about that, and we're going to start this panel because we have some badass women up here. I got permission to say that, so I'm going to say that. So I'm going to start. You guys heard my bio, but I'm going to go through here for everybody to give like a minute bio about yourself and a fun fact. And I will start with the fun fact. So I watch Dateline to go to bed. My husband thinks I'm crazy. But I really like it, right? And I really feel like it gives me the ability to assess danger in certain circumstances that, you never know. I could be in the store, and I could look at people and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go this way, right? I have a keen sense. So that's why I watch these shows. And my husband knows I can find out anything. So that's another plus on that, right? He's back there, he knows. So that is my fun fact, and so I'll kick it over to you.
Thank you so much.
You're
That's
welcome.
A fun fact, and terrified. Dateline would scare me, but I'm Laura Franco French, and I'm Director of State Government Relations for TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor. Thank you. Very, very cool company making a big impact for the state and for our country, so I'm very proud to work for them. And we're doing a little intro. So I am born and raised in Phoenix. I grew up down the street, and I'm very proud daughter of a Mexican mom, and my dad was very involved in Veterans Affairs, Army. So those are two passions I have. And my grandfather was the Consul General of Mexico, and my grandmother started the El Sol newspaper. So I grew up in a family that was just very, very proud of our heritage, and so that's something I carry on. I love international relations, so I studied at Georgetown and worked in DC for 5 years at different organizations, and then came back here and really wanted to do something international, and at the time that I came back, Phoenix wasn't quite as international as it is now, so I'm very grateful to be in the kind of job that I always dreamed of having, although I wanted to do something where I would be working with Latin America or Spain or speaking Spanish, but that's okay. This is awesome to be where I am. And the job I had previously was working for Mayor Kate Gallego, and I was her advisor on economic development, another amazing woman.
The mayor.
Yeah, and that's how we were working on the team to bring TSMC here. So when TSMC decided to come here, I very much was front and center of, I need to help you. I really want to work with you. This would be really fun. So that's how I got there. And fun fact about me, I love to travel. So much so that, and I love going to new countries. I don't remember the number. It's probably around 40 countries I've been to. But last year, a friend of mine, Tina, who's here, was like, hey, I have a security conference in Romania next week. Want to go? I'm like, absolutely. So yeah, I love to travel, and I love to travel with friends. So thank you for being here.
I mean, that is a resume. You just said, oh, it's just second job. I worked for Kate Gallego, and I put myself forward. That is a big deal. And I want to stop there for a second for some of the women here and the young women here. I want you to think about what she said. She's like, she made herself front and center and told them what she wanted. And now look where she's at. You got to speak up and just say what you want. So, kudos to you. All right. Our Girl Scout. She said that earlier. I love it.
I was not a Girl Scout, but I am here supporting the Girl Scouts because I love Christina so much.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Reyna Montoya. I use pronouns she, her, ella. I am the founder and CEO at Aliento. So for those of you who may not speak Spanish, Aliento translates into breath. But when you give aliento to someone, it's like giving words of encouragement. Yes. So I have the privilege and honor to be the founder and the CEO at Aliento, which is a nonprofit organization that works in the intersections of education, mental health, and the arts with our dreamers and our mixed immigration status community. So as you can imagine, it has been a very challenging time for a lot of our brothers and sisters, especially our young people who are trying to make the sense of the world, and then on top of that, having to figure out about the uncertainty that it comes with not being born here, but really claiming Arizona as a place of home where we have invested not only in our education, in our careers, but have really created places of opportunities and where we have co-created those dreams. So despite of all the uncertainty, I feel very honored that I get to wake up every single day and provide a little bit of hope to our young people and be now as an adult, be a little part of their journey. I grew up undocumented myself here in the Valley, Mesa, so shout out to my East Valley people. And as a little girl, I would have never imagined that I would have the privilege of running a very successful nonprofit. We have been able to galvanize so much support, many people in this room, and we even got like Lady Gaga to give us money and Zoom. So I'm really proud of the work that we get to do, because for me, it's not about not only the names, but it's about like how do we bring voices of unheard communities that for so long we've been seen as burdens, as not someone that they see value, and we're flipping the narrative. And we're not only the storytellers, but we're the strategists of our lives. And because young people who you are here and you know who you are, who committed their journey since high school, we were able to flip the narrative and win statewide policy to reinstate in-state tuition after a 16-year ban. And that was because of students like Araceli, Diana, and Angel, who are right here in the front. So give it out for them, give them their flowers. I want to be mindful of these wonderful speakers. So a fun fact about me is that I actually got suspended from kindergarten, and many people would have never thought that. But I promise it was a good reason, and I think I have it in my heart. There was this girl who was bullying my best friend, and at that time I had big emotions and big feelings, so maybe I didn't handle it that well. My therapist will say now, but I did ask her, would you please stop picking on my friend? And she wouldn't listen, so like I pulled her ponytail, so that got me in trouble. So that's a fun fact that you probably would have not expected from me.
I think it's full circle, because what you're fighting for and what you're doing for these kids, it's the same thing. It's just in a different way, but you're still doing it, and I love that.
I've learned to channel my emotions more productively.
I gotta talk to you. I got a kindergarten. I gotta figure that out. We might be on that line. You're next.
Hi, guys. I'm Christian Ramírez. I am the Cohn Assistant Curator of Contemporary and Community Art Initiatives at Phoenix Art Museum, which is a whole mouthful. So what does that all mean? It's the longest title. I think I win. I didn't even add in like the full names of the people that funded this position, because we would be here for another like hour. But I have the honor of being able to work with our permanent collection on a regular basis, and my specific focus is working on including Arizona-based artists throughout the collection as well as installations. So if you had time today or next time you come to the museum, if you wander through the galleries, specifically the Modern and Contemporary wing, which is just right around the corner when you pop out, you'll see an Arizona-based artist in each gallery that's in the museum. So it's one of the greatest honors I've had to be able to increase that. Thank you. And I also oversee our Arizona Artist Awards program. So if you are an artist or know an artist, we have an open call right now for the Layman Emerging Artist Awards. It runs until the end of April, and you can register through ArtLink. Again, one of the things that I was able to help with, which is truly one of, I can like retire and know that I like contributed something, was that the Layman Award originally started as $1,500 and is now $10,000 prize. And then we also have a mid-career artist award, and that was $5,000 and then increased to $20,000. So, and then this year we've launching a new award that's the SETI-Con prize, and it's $5,000 unrestricted funds to the same pool of artists. So a jury will select someone from there too. So please apply or send people over our way to apply. That'd be great. And then a fun fact about me, I love Survivor. Survivor is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. It was a pandemic discovery. I have watched every season to the point where I'm in a fantasy league. Yep. And yep, the Hot Doggers, that's the name of our group. And we normally watch on Thursday nights at my friend's house, and I'm here. So that's how committed I am to being with you all, is I sacrificed my Thursday night ritual to be with you all.
Christian, I have a question for you. Can you survive?
I can watch everyone survive.
No. Oh, so you're not going to make it?
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
No. I know. I am not built for it. I like camping, but there's too many bugs. There's sand.
I'm with you. I just wanted to know.
No,
like, I feel like I'm a
coaching,
detective.
my
Maybe you're
good
a survivor
friend,
now.
Sam, she works here too. Her husband, Cole, has been applying, and I've been coaching him through.
Okay.
So, because my dream is to know somebody on Survivor.
Okay.
I don't want to be on it. I just want to know somebody. Yeah.
I think you should go for it. Why not? No?
I'm not built for it. I know that about myself.
All right. We'll work
I know
on
my
that.
strong suits. Yeah.
All right. You're up, ma'am.
So much pressure. This is serious. I wish, so we took photos of this crowd. This view from where we're sitting is really beautiful.
Yes.
So this is really incredible to witness. So good evening, everyone. My name is Christina Spicer, and I am the co-CEO for Girl Scouts Arizona Cactus-Pine Council. And it is an absolute honor to be able to be here and to be able to I see some of our young girls in the room, so shout out to our girls who are here today. So I grew up, I was born in California, grew up in Mesa, Arizona, so we have some good Mesa juices. And then I went to ASU for my undergraduate and graduate degree, and go Devils, and also, U of A is playing tonight, so we do wish Arizona well. It was really interesting. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I'm first generation to go to college, and I remember on the very first day I was showing up at ASU, everybody had their parent with them, and I was like, should I have brought her? Like, was it like a bring your parent to school day? Like, what's going on here? I just truly didn't know, and honestly, the experience of going to college is something that has completely transformed my life. And one of the things that my mom used to say to me is, education is the one thing that nobody can take away from you, and I really do believe that, and it just that one thing around education and community completely transformed my life and the access that I've had here. So I love Arizona, I love being here. I worked for a small nonprofit called Not My Kid right out of college, and then went to Teach for America and was there for 6 years, which they also say like dog years, so really like 35-ish years. And then have been now at Girl Scouts for 10 years, and I absolutely love it. It is incredible. We serve 13,000 girls, 2/3 of our beautiful state, including the Navajo Nation, served by about 8,000 amazing volunteers that give so much to our girls. So it is a true honor and pleasure to represent them this evening. So a fun fact, I mean, I have like nothing. I have no good stuff here, but I'm going to share my fun fact that I thought about. So my son, I have a 9-year-old son, and he was that kid who he's not into basketball or baseball or football, and we tried. So we were like, you gotta like something, right? And so he's like, I like cars. So I started Googling and found, it was like, kids and cars. And it was like, here's a really cool car to take to your kid's birthday. I was like, no. I want like an engagement activity that he can say he did. So there was nothing there. So him and I started Kids Car Club of Arizona a year and a half ago. And last year they did their very first car show where a group of boys got together. And let me tell you, I don't work with young boys. And so it was an amazing learning experience. And so shout out to the guys here in the room because we appreciate your allyship.
Yes.
And I'm raising a really strong boy who will not only know his manhood, but also to be able to support really strong women. So
yes.
That's a fun fact.
Christina, I'm going to tell you, I don't know who has boys, but I had 2 girls, and now I have a boy, and I had no idea. It is like, it's different. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not for the faint of hearts. I'll tell you that right now. So I can understand if you had plenty of them, and there's cars and vehicles, like, you're brave.
And I know nothing about cars. I know they have 4 wheels and they go fast.
So good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job.
I'm glad you teed that up for me. So, because I was going to start with the thing I'm most proud of. My name's Angela Lowery. I am the mother of a 19-year-old Brophy grad who's currently at Creighton. Yes, I was a single mom for the majority of his life, and he is first-generation college student because I did not graduate from college, but But I did grow up here in Arizona for the majority of my life. I was an Air Force brat, so I lived in Korea and the Philippines and then came here when I was 10 years old. Grew up in the West Side, and there is the difference between West Side and West Valley. Let me just tell you.
West Side.
So that'll give you some context. And kind of worked my way through insurance. I've been in the insurance industry for 30 years. I'm an area vice president for them here. I work for a company called Pure Insurance. We insure high net worth, ultra high net worth personal assets for folks that live here and across all 50 states. I've been in charge of strategic partnerships and really just developing business for them and growing this marketplace and including the West. I spend the majority of my time with private wealth advisors, family offices, and private banks, kind of educating them as much as I can on how insurance is now impacting the portfolios of their best clients. And so I've enjoyed it. I can tell you that there hasn't been a day that I didn't love insurance. Can't believe that, because when I started, I said, there's no way that I'm gonna make this my career. And come to find out, I loved every second of it. And so I like to say that I'm a master connector of badass women, because I have a huge connection, and there are a lot of women here that are supporting me, so I just appreciate you all for being here. But I would say that my fun fact is, if you've heard of a show called The Bachelor, I was on the very first one. Yes. Obviously, it didn't work out for me because I'm still single, but I was on it, and I don't regret it one bit. So.
You and I are going to be like best friends for multiple reasons. One, I lived in the Philippines too.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a 21-year-old too. No one knows that I had her when I was young. But also, I just love the fact that you're on The Bachelor, and I want to have so many questions. We need to go have some drinks. I need to know all the tea about the back end stuff.
All I can say is The Bachelor's got better as the show continues.
That's so cool. I feel like I'm with celebrities. I'm Hillary Walsh. I am the founder and owner at New Frontier Immigration Law, and we help undocumented people who are here in the United States live free by helping them get their papers. Yeah. It is always so cool to be on a panel with Reyna, because when I first moved here, I was doing a pro bono case. She's probably tired of hearing this story, but it was really impactful for me. But I was doing a pro bono case for a client who was detained out in Eloy Detention Center, which is essentially a prison for people who have not committed a crime. And I needed someone to help me as a country conditions expert or something, because his 2 young children, if he's deported, were going to remain here in the United States, and I wanted someone to explain to the court, what's going to happen to these kids. Like, let's really think about family unity. And I'm Googling, and this is why it's really important when you're out doing something to be loud and proud and market your services, because I was able to find Reyna's organization, and although she wasn't able to help specifically, because that's not what her organization does, she pointed me in the direction of someone who eventually did come out and testify for free. We weren't able to win the case, but when you can leave everything on the mat, that's really incredible. And that was in 2018, so she's been at this for a long time. So, yeah. So I feel like I've lived a lot of lives, and I'm really grateful for that. I grew up in Kansas, like in the middle of a field, like, truly, like people giggle, and I'm like, no, but you don't understand. It was, it was like the middle of a field. So there was no like light poles with lights on it or sidewalks, or it was the middle of a field. And then I met this really cute guy who told me at a 4th of July barbecue, actually, that he was leaving Kansas and never coming back. And we went skinny dipping that night.
Yes!
Because I was locking that boy down. Anyway, I also grew up in a really fundamentalist Christian church, so there's, so there's a lot of layers here. But anyway, we've been married for 20 years. And we never went back to Kansas. Which is why we're still so married and happy. I love Kansas, but it was really great to leave because it was not aligned with who I am. But we're a military family, so we got to live initially in Wichita Falls, Texas, which was a big city compared to where I was from in Kansas. And then we lived here in Arizona for a while. We lived in Vegas, we lived in Japan, we lived in Korea, we lived in England, and then we moved back here. And I had babies in a lot of those places, and they were all with the same man. So really committed here. So that was my first couple of lives, and then I moved here in 2018, and I will always be in love with the state of Arizona. This is where I'm gonna die, because Arizona has given me so much. This city has given me so much, because I started a business because no one would give me a job as a non-Spanish speaking immigration lawyer. So that was a real bummer. So I had to start my own company, and now we have it's around 130 people who work in the firm. We have amazing representation of them. They're super supportive of me, and I always love you, thank you. I'm really grateful to have a lot of women leaders in the company, and my greatest achievement is definitely my 4 kids. I had 4 kids in 4 years, which is not a competition you want to have with someone.
Bless you. Bless you.
I did that. And they're just amazing humans who I really think are just going to go out and do great things in the world, and they give me hope for what is to come. My fun fact, other than skinny dipping with my husband the first day I met him, which, hopefully you remember me by anytime you see me in the future. Maybe there's a judge here, and I'm just going to now really have regrets, but while my husband was deployed, fighting in a war, I went to Uganda and decided to volunteer. And so we're balancing out the yin and yang of life. And that was while I was finishing up finishing up undergrad. And I volunteered at an orphanage, and I lived in Uganda for 3 months or so. And that's where I decided I was going to become a human rights lawyer. And that was in 2006 or something. So it's a great privilege to be able to travel. And I think that's what's so valuable about travel. And to live free, which is the gift I get to give clients. So that's my fun fact.
That is amazing on so many levels. But I will always remember you. for the.
This is how this works.
But I'm going to
The
tell
fun
you guys,
facts.
I'm going to say a couple things. She went after what she wanted a couple times, and she got it. So take note, ladies.
There? Okay. So I had 3 kids in 2 years, and tonight I met someone who's got me beat. This is fantastic. We are good at making babies, if nothing else. If nothing else. That's right. I'm Jessica Mefford-Miller, and it is my great privilege to be CEO of Valley Metro, our regional public transportation authority. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I truly, it is my privilege. I love what I do. I have worked in transportation for about 25 years. I'm the newcomer, I think, to Arizona. My family and I moved here 3 years when I joined Valley Metro. And I've always spent my career really working at the intersection of people and places. And our mission at Valley Metro is connecting communities and enhancing lives. And that's what keeps me going. Every day, we've got a great program. We truly have an enviable system. We're about to open our 3rd rail expansion in the last 3 years. Crazy, it's awesome. South Central Extension, stay tuned. It's coming in hot. Coming in real hot. We'll get her done quick. And, just an interesting fact, this occurred to me on my way here because I was on my phone with one of my 19 bosses. I have 19 board members heading here today. But I had spent over 20 years working in my field, and that board member was in a lot of roles in 4 different states. That was my first female boss in my entire career. Isn't that bonkers? But when you're in it, it doesn't even occur to you because I just work around men. I've been around men all of the time. Now the team I lead, my 11-person executive team, is half women. It looks very, yes, and they are badass women, but it looks very different from the agencies and the organizations I came from. And I'm a big believer that the system that we build and the people for whom we build it and operate it, we've got to reflect that in our team. So it was just a little piece of info I was thinking about on the way here. Fun fact about me, I'm gonna be quick. Man, there's been some skinny dipping, but I don't want to tell y'all. I didn't marry those boys. But anyway, so.
I love it.
I'm going to give you a very nerdy fact. And so I love birds. Like early in the morning, I go out on my patio, I get my coffee, and I have just like a couple of minutes of zen, listening to the birds, watching the birds. My dining room, it's decorated. I've got like bird drapes. And when people come to our house for the first time, I'm almost a little embarrassed. Like, this is the point you figure out I'm a super nerd. So my husband comes outside and joins me early one morning last week, and there are ducks in the pool. I was like, yeah, we've been having ducks in the pool for a long time. We got a whole family of ducks here. Losing his mind because I didn't realize there's poop all in the pool, everywhere. They're swimming, they're pooping, they're laying eggs, and so, yeah. But it's okay. It is a pond, right, yeah. So we're not swimming in the pool right now. So it's this stand down between my husband and I have made him swear because I'm gone most of the time. When I get back from work or from this trip, those ducks better be alive. and he's good, so the ducks are still alive. We're gonna have some ducklings. No duck in the freezer, no pate. We're gonna have ourselves some ducklings.
I have a question. So they're laying eggs? Yeah. Where? Like in the pool?
No.
I don't know about ducks. Okay,
no.
I don't know about ducks and birds.
I don't know that much about ducks either. No,
Okay.
they're in like the landscaping. We've got like trees, they're nesting. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good place. I'm running like a little Audubon at my house. Yeah.
I just visualize like when I've been at the park, at Encanto Park before, I remember when I was little, I got chased by a duck. Yeah. And I think like I'm traumatized.
Those are geese.
Oh, they're not ducks. Okay.
Yeah, that's a goose.
I don't know. That's not my thing. It's same thing.
The geese will hunt you, but the ducks, they just fly away.
Okay. Thank you.
She's imagining geese in your pool. And these big old goose eggs.
I was like, oh, okay. All right, that's great.
It's a duck.
Well, these
You city people.
I am such a city person. I will own that. I don't camp anymore. I've done it. It's not my thing. I go to a hotel. I'll stay in a camper, but I'm not going to be out there like that. I'm just not. No, but I love it. I'm in awe of the women on what you guys are doing, because you guys are CEOs, you guys are business owners, you guys are leading some stuff. And that is not always, it's not always easy. And a lot of people don't always get to see women of your caliber, right? And how you got there. And so when I think about that, it makes me think about the women who has inspired you. And for me, like, I want you guys to think about that. As a young girl, who inspired you? How did you think, oh, I could do that? And then as an adult, who inspires you? Like, I look at, for me, my mom, my grandmother, strong women that I saw hustle and do so much, and I was inspired by them. And now some of the women I'm sitting to, I get inspired. I have people that I work with, managers, different business owners that inspire me. So for you ladies, if someone wants to take this, who inspired you to even move forward and to keep going forward, and who inspires you now? Don't be shy. I'll call on people.
For me, I think when I think about my upbringing, it was my grandmother's generation. So they're having babies in like the 40s and the 1950s, and both of them lots of children, and both of them worked. They were of lower income backgrounds, and each one of them, they would have a baby, go back to work, get a new job, but then they'd have to leave that job when they had a baby. Not only was there not maternity leave, but you can't be pregnant out in public. So I watched that, and I watched that cycle, and I thought, oh, hell no, not me, not me. So I spent a lot of years trying not to have babies and building my career. Then I had a bunch of babies. Once I was like, I made it.
Yeah, now you can do it.
Now I'm going to get it done. Yeah.
So I can go. It's interesting. Sometimes inspiration comes in weird places. Sometimes it can come from the people who don't believe in you. And so I'm dyslexic, and I got diagnosed with dyslexia when I was in 3rd grade. And my 4th grade teacher told my mom, and this is the exact word she used, uneducable, which is not a word. So I don't know who was who in this situation. But,
maybe you should take a look in the mirror.
Right? And I remember this conversation of my mom just really going to bat for me, like being super, like she's an advocate, and realizing that I had to be an advocate for myself, and I can either choose to allow somebody else's definition of my intelligence to determine my future, or I can take it into my own hands and prove them wrong. Unfortunately, in school, there is no, class for big emotions, right?
No.
Or for people who are empaths, people who want to do good in the world. There isn't so to be able to write me off as a stupid kid was just wrong. And so I think about that often, that sometimes what fuels you in inspiration are the people who maybe say, I don't believe you can. And then the next thing you know, you're like, watch. And then I'll call you back, and then it's like that scene out of Pretty Woman where you're like,
yes.
big mistake.
Big mistake. Doesn't that feel good?
It does.
Oh. Yes. That fuels me. You tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna do it 10 times as bigger, and I'm gonna do it loud in your face. And I'll smile, but I'm gonna do it. Right? I love that.
I was going to say the same thing. So actually, I didn't have the best upbringing, and so I struggled a little bit to find inspiration, but I did have to find it within myself and push myself as hard as I could. And really, just in the last 10 years, I've surrounded myself with some pretty incredible women who inspire me every day, but I found it late in life, unfortunately, and I had to kind of push myself, to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
And then once you find that circle, you don't let them go.
No.
Right?
No.
Like they're your ride or die.
They are my tribe,
Right?
yes.
So you hold on.
I will tell you this, if you don't leave here with anything, you need to be mindful of who's around you. You need to know who's feeding you and who's sucking the life out of you. Because there are people that are envious and jealous, and that is not your issue. And you need to remove them from your circle. Yeah, that's it. And do it unapologetically.
So Ashley, just really fast, one of the most powerful things that somebody told me once is when somebody does that to you, you say, I don't receive that. And you literally physically move away. I don't receive that. Yeah. And you move away.
That's probably a better tact of doing it, of how I would do it. So I'd probably go that route.
I was going to say my mom was an amazing woman, and she would be so proud to see all these women here today who are just aspiring to be the best they can be. And so she started the Fiesta. My grandparents actually started the Fiestas Patrias, so they believe so much in celebrating Mexican heritage, and my mom carried that on. I thought it was normal growing up that, like, the 16th of September, we would have this committee and fireworks and parades, and the governor would have to be there. But it really taught me that our heritage was so important and something to really fight for and celebrate. And so those celebrations are carried on in different ways today. Yes. And I will say the women who I admire now, I have friends who have had a vision and started businesses, like Gaby Cárdenas, who started Colibri Collective and turned it into this massive business. And I'm so proud of friends who run for office and just to have the vision and believe in themselves and start something, and they inspire me daily.
Yes, and I love that you mentioned about heritage, because I feel like you have to have something that's going to keep you grounded, something you come back to, if it's your faith, your heritage, something like that. I think that's really important to find what that is and hold on to it and not get veered off with everything. That is what brings you back, that keeps you humbled and grounded. And I just think, I love that, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. When we think about leadership, I know early in my career, I had a boss at that time, not a current one, because he's here, not him, an older one. And early in my career, honestly, he really almost made me quit at what I was doing. He was very, I want to say degrading, but he was not nice. And he was always putting me down. He was not helpful. I almost lost faith in myself. And I feel like as women sometimes, we run into these situations, and I feel like at times it can be roadblocks from becoming a leader or even pushing through. And so I'm going to pose this, since we have so many amazing leaders. What advice, or what do you think some of the roadblocks that women face in becoming or getting into leadership, and how do you pivot, or how do you get around that and to keep moving forward?
I can go. Sometimes the ones that hurt the most is not even people who don't believe in you, but some people that are supposed to be part of your tribe. So I think that for me, I faced a lot of challenges growing up, like undocumented, and seeing how people would judge me just by my accent or by the way that they would see me and looked at me. I remember when I was in the 8th grade, I would get really bored in math because I would finish everything so quickly. And then my math teacher was such a first advocate, but at the end of the day, like, I wasn't able to do honors math because other teachers didn't believe that I could do it because I didn't speak English at that time. So I think that oftentimes I would say that you will be facing a lot of challenges, and something that I have learned along the way is that you have to be relentless. And something that I learned from my dad, who had me at the age of 18 and who is a proud immigrant spirit, he hustled, and he knew that having a 9-to-5 job wasn't gonna get him to his goal, because his goal was to raise a family that he started working at the age of 8. So can you imagine all the grit, all the desperation, and all the things that he had to overcome? And what I learned from him is that you cannot be waiting for people to open opportunities, that you have to be like knocking on doors, and if one door closes, you have to figure out a window or another way. And I feel that I learned so much of that grit and that desire to hustle because of my dad. And I'm so grateful for his courage of making that decision of migrating after he was kidnapped by Mexican police and had to flee and try to protect his family. So for me now, as an older person and an adult and trying to make sense of the world, I feel that I go back to that spirit that so many folks that have very little decide to move forward, and when they see challenges, we turn them into opportunities. Yeah. So for me, that's what leadership is, when you identify a problem and you're relentless, and despite of the challenges, you're willing to move forward. And when you hear no, I'm gonna tell you yes, and I'll find that yes. And I think for me, I believe that leadership is an action, not a noun. So my recommendation for folks who are thinking about taking that leap in faith on your next move is really remember your why. Like, why are you doing that? What is your goal? What is your inspiration? But don't forget about the other people that carry you along the way. And always be that person that is going to be open doors for others, because I would say that one of my biggest heartbreaks were other people that looked like me that were supposed to have my back, but they were closing doors. So at the age of 25, I didn't know what I was doing, but I decided to found Aliento, right? And at 25, you have so much drive, so much energy. But it was a lot of the people who I was thinking that they were going to count on me and root for me that closed those doors, that became barriers. And if it would have not been for that spirit of my dad and my mom to continue to be relentless, I don't think I would be here today in front of you. So always turn a no into an opportunity and remember why you're doing it, because in those moments when I would cry, trying to figure out budgets and learning the business side of the nonprofit, like I went back to really imagining like what would have my life been to have supportive adults that see my value and that saw my opportunity and saw my ability to thrive. And I wanted to be that adult for young people, because we can either be resentful of the opportunities that we didn't have, or we can actually turn that around and build opportunities for other people to make it better for the future generations.
Yes. I love what she's saying, because I've said this before. If there's not a seat at the table, bring your own damn chair or table or whatever. And I feel like, Hillary, you did that.
Yeah.
You did that.
Thank you. That is an important thing to do. I still don't know if I went out and applied for jobs, if I would be able to get one, not being a fluent Spanish speaker. So like that's such an amazing skill, and it's ironic when I meet people and they have an accent in English. I'm just so envious that they've picked up another language, and it's a lot of hard work. So. When we think about leadership, going back to your question, when you think about women in leadership and kind of what are some of the obstacles and how do you keep moving, I really think that perfection is such a thing that's ingrained, it's a value that's ingrained in women. And I even catch myself where I'm parenting my daughters differently than I'm parenting my son, because my daughters need to be perfect, and this is how girls are. And I just know that, you know, as a parent, I'm carbon copying what I saw as a parent. So I have to be very thoughtful and really focus on what am I teaching my kids? Do I want to repeat the carbon copy that I had? But doing it anyway, done is better than perfect, has been the best way to move through things. When you are afraid, taking action is the way to, like the kryptonite for fear. And the longer you hold on to something because you want to make it perfect, the longer you are actually holding yourself in your own little prison of not being able to move to the place that you want to move to. Done is better than perfect.
I love that, because I suffered from that when I was younger. This idea of what perfection should be. For a long time, I wouldn't even wear my hair curly because somebody told me that that's not what a professional looks like, right? So be your authentic self, and I think that's a big thing. And if you want something, go after it, right? I have a question for you, Christian, because we talked, and you said you had a secret weapon that you pull out sometimes and what sets you apart. And so I want to know what this secret weapon is. It's not Survivor, right?
I don't have a master's degree. Yeah, I don't have a PhD, and for curatorial work in an institution, that's not really how it works. And so for me, it's actually been the thing that has made me, I think, good at this job. And being able to contribute in curatorial meetings and in leadership meetings. Because I can bring a different perspective. My background is in more education, so working with community members, actually engaging with our visitors, not necessarily just at this museum, but in my previous roles when I lived in Tucson, but being able to actually work with the people that we want to. So the visitors we're hoping to bring, I actually know them. You know, I've spent time with them. I've gone to their events. We've built a relationship together. So when we're actually trying to build a real relationships to the institution, I already know where to start. Like, I at least know who to call and then figure out from there, like, who can point me in a better direction for whatever we might be working on.
I love that, because I think a lot of times, and I think education is really important, I think things are good, but if that's not your path, that's okay. You don't have to conform to what society says you have to do. Maybe you won't be a doctor and doing surgery on people, but but there's still opportunity, and it's what you make of it. And so I love the tenacity of that, and it's how you show up. Experience and drive and passion is so big. And we talk about, like, doing these things. Sometimes that's taking a risk and getting uncomfortable. So let's talk about that. What type of what's the biggest risk that you guys have taken in your life or your career that's helped you get to where you're at today?
I think for me, it was taking this job. I think the opposite of a barrier was actually that Nikki DeLeon Martin, one of my heroes, who introduced us today, she told me I could do it. Like, I didn't think I could actually do this job because I don't have a degree, and for the first year and a half of this job, that's all I could dwell on, was that, like, I don't actually know how to do this. I don't know how curatorial departments work in institutions. I founded a gallery with some friends in Tucson, but I didn't know I was doing curatorial work. I was just doing a thing that I wanted. I wanted to do fun things with my friends. And I lived in Tucson, and it's a small community, and we'd graduated from art school, and just, like, there wasn't the thing we wanted, so we made it. Yeah. So we did it ourselves. And so it didn't seem like a gallery to me. I mean, it was the name of a gallery, but it wasn't like, we weren't selling things. Like, we're not millionaires from this. We were losing money. It was
You're having fun.
We were having fun.
You're having fun selling art, doing some fun things. So it was like
maybe we sold one thing every 6 months, but it wasn't it. We were just pouring our money into this when we didn't really have much. But it wasn't until years later of other women. So the opposite, I think, is the barriers that I've mostly been, my barriers are myself, and I need other people to remind me that I actually can do the thing. So it was other women telling me, like, oh no, you've been a curator. Like, Marissa Del Toro is an amazing curator. She was a fellow here, and she's like, that's what you've been doing. I was like, no. And then I left, and I worked at another institution in Texas, and Nikki called about this position, and I was like, I can't do that.
Yes, you can.
And she was like, yes, you can. I was like, but the job description, and she changed the job description for me to be super specific.
That's amazing.
That it said, like, having, like, a master's degree in art or 5 to 7 years and working in a museum with community engagement, like, just listing out the things that I do and would inform this role. Yeah. But I didn't think I could do it, because then once I got here too, it was like, I have to fill out collections forms and go to meetings and donors and whatever, like all this other stuff that I didn't know curators did. You have to write essays and publish. It's like, I don't, so it's very much a learning curve, but I think that thing that I am good at is just knowing that who to talk to and who to ask help from, and working in museums for so long in all different departments, I know how they work. Yeah. So when it comes to just even like the practicality of installing an artwork, I understand that security is going to have 2 cents about, you can't touch this here, or that the registrars, you can't bring a plant inside. Like, there's certain things that I can already like anticipate and then be able to figure out how to make what would have been a no right off the bat into maybe a yes, because they know I'm willing to work with them.
Go ahead.
Yes. So I would say one of the biggest risks that I took is, when with Girl Scouts, I was already working alongside of Mary Mitchell, my amazing co-CEO, who, if you don't know her, please know her. I will say you're welcome back to you. So when the board first started, so we were actually deputy directors together for about 5 years. And they started this concept working on shared leadership. And what does shared leadership mean? And what does that look like? And in full transparency, like, I have been on a path to being a CEO, not a COO, a CEO, right? And so there was all this conversation in the planning and the succession planning about what would it look like, what would it mean? And so in our job descriptions, both Mary and I hold both the CEO and COO component of Girl Scouts. And so we do that, and we have shared leadership. And there was a lot of conversation about what does this look like? What does it mean? And there was this massive risk of taking a step into a different model that everybody said was going to fail. Everybody, they were like, look at this example, look at this example, look at this example. I'm like, well, we're not them. So let's try, and we're Girl Scouts. Like, we have co-leaders all the way down at the troop level. Like, let us try, let's show them that women actually can work beautifully together. And I will share with you, and I have 2 amazing board members in this room, so I love you very dearly. But I did have, when in our interview, they asked, and I thought it was such an interesting question. They said, how will the 2 of you manage conflict? And I was like, well, we're women, so we're gonna talk it out, and then we're gonna like figure it out. And we had to like come up with a plan about how we were gonna manage conflict. And I do wonder if we were 2 men, if they would have asked us that same question. I don't know, right? And I have this feeling around, as we took the offer, the risk in the very beginning seemed huge. Like, oh my gosh, this is my first CEO position. What if this totally fails and it totally bombs and everybody was right? But then the question of like, what if it works? What if we end up doing amazing, awesome things for girls in Arizona because we decided to put our egos aside and decided to do something different? And it's worked. We have now been in this position for 4 years together, and it is about wellness, it's about wholeness, it's about showing a different example. And people are always like, wow, how does that all happen? And I'm like, well, you scrub your ego and you put it to the side and you check yourself. And it's a beautiful example, and it was a huge risk professionally to take. And I got some people saying things to me like, well, when are you gonna become like the real CEO? And I'm like, we are. And so there is this moment of taking that risk, and it was the greatest risk ever because I learned from Mary every day, and she is one of the most inspiring people in my life, and I am grateful for what she brings to the world and for me.
I love that.
So I have a quick story of the risk that I took. So believe it or not, I worked at this company and I had left. So prior to leaving the company I currently work for, so hopefully nobody works with me, but I'll tell this story really quickly. I felt like I wasn't being advocated for. I felt like I was struggling, kind of the same thing, where I didn't have a leader who really believed in me or who was trying to pretty much put every obstacle in my way and hold me down is what I felt like what was happening. And so I made the choice to leave the company and go advocate for myself and give myself a really great opportunity. And so sure enough, a year later, I get a call from the CEO and the president of our company, and they say it's time to come home. And so I had to ask, like, what's going on? So they kind of explained that the company wasn't the same anymore, the culture wasn't the same since I left, and the business was not the same since I left. And so I said, okay, so I'm happy to come back, but I got a few things that we need to talk about.
I have a list.
So, yes. So if you want me to come back, then I get to create my role. And I get to create exactly what I want to do for a living. And I want to do the things that I love and thoroughly enjoy doing. And either you can sign on board for it or I can stay where I'm at. And so they did. So they said, well, get somebody with you right away. And literally it was a few days later, we sat at raw sushi. I wrote down everything I wanted to do, and they created a job for me. And so sometimes you have to be your biggest advocate, and sometimes you do have to take the risk.
Yes. Did you want to?
The biggest risk I've taken has been to choose forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
So I got put in foster care when I was 15. And I just turned 40, and I'm still grappling with that experience because it was a really hard time for me, and it was a really hard time for my whole family. And I think that's probably like where the foundation was laid to later become a lawyer, because my lawyer walked into a room where I was, really having a lot of dark thoughts, because I was going to have to go see my parents for the first time since I had been taken out of the home, and it was not a good circumstance. This guy comes in a suit, and y'all, I was living in a field in Kansas. Nobody was wearing suits. I didn't know what a lawyer was. I was like, I'd read some John Grisham books, but that was the extent of it. And this guy comes in a blue suit and tells me it's time for us to go in and see the judge. And so I follow him in, and I go sit down in my seat, and my parents are there with this other white guy in his suit. And come to find out, this man who came and got me was my lawyer, my court-appointed lawyer, because I was a child. And he didn't talk to me beforehand. He didn't explain to me what was going to go on. It was a very, very traumatic experience because he told the judge that I wanted to be reunified with my parents. And I wasn't really ready for that, but that's what ended up happening. And everything works out for the best. But years later, I look back and I'm the lawyer I am today because out in those detention centers where I cut my teeth as an immigration lawyer, so many people can't understand what's going on because it's in a different language. Their lawyers don't show up, or when they do, they just breeze in and they hurry and they don't talk to the client. They don't ask the client what's going on. And so I look back and I am really, really good at my job because I got to experience firsthand what it's like for someone not to be. And I choose forgiveness and I choose gratitude to that person. And when we hold on to unforgiveness, I guess is the word, resentment, the list of the wrongs that people have done to us, we really have built a prison around ourselves, and we are the captive. And forgiveness really is the door that will open that up for you. And I have this awesome book that I have to recommend because I love books. And it's a book called Build the Life You Want. And it's by Arthur Brooks, I think is his name, and with Oprah. And if you read that book and you follow it, it's just so freeing and you can let a lot go. And that's like a life journey for me. But if you will take the risk and choose forgiveness, even if the other person won't forgive you, it is very freeing.
I couldn't agree more. And yeah. And I'm going to caveat on this because I'm going to close this out with one question. Not caveat, but add to that. Also, always advocate for yourself and always love you first. Don't look for outside gratification to fill your cup. It is not someone else's job to make you feel loved. It's your job to make you do that. And once you do that, you'll learn to advocate for yourself in a lot of situations because we have to be our own advocate. We can't expect others to do that because there's a lot of rough people out there that don't, and a lot of jealousy, things like that. And I love that. And forgiveness is huge. And also resentment, all that's poison for your body. And we're not getting aged by other people, please. I'm not going to be aged by anybody else.
Or yourself.
Or myself. Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing
also
that today.
forgive
No.
yourself.
So we're going to close this out because I think this is a really good question. And I've actually done this. And I wrote a letter to myself and what I would say to my younger self. Because who I am today is nowhere near the person I was when I was a teenager and struggling and different things like that. And so I want you guys to leave us with, what would you tell your younger self today about who you want to be or what you're doing? What would you tell your younger self? Because I would tell my younger self that I am enough, I am worthy, and I can do anything that I want to. I'm going to refrain. I'm not going to go there. But I can do anything I want to. And I think a lot of times we don't do that, and we're scared for different reasons. But that's what I would tell myself. And I think everybody, think about that. For you guys, too, as they're answering this, what would you tell your younger self with you sitting here today? I'm going to kick it over to you.
Sure. Well, I would say don't worry so much, for sure, because I certainly had all the plans of how I thought my life was going to be. Yes. And it isn't like that at all, but it's wonderful and awesome. So I think patience and have faith and confidence in yourself, and it will all work out as it should.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Miss Reyna.
If I could go back and talk to 13-year-old Reyna, I would go and say that you are worthy and you belong. I think that I remember that was one of the darkest times, and I would curl up and cry because when we were migrating, I didn't know the reason that my dad had been kidnapped. I didn't know all the violence that they have to endure. So all my identity was wrapped around being a good student. So when I migrated to Arizona, I couldn't do my homework, and that really impacted my sense of worthiness and my ability to be self-sufficient. And I would cry and I would pray to God to like, please just like take me away, right? And I think that I struggle a lot with my mental health, and that's something that I'm always the first advocate for going to therapy and doing the work that you need to do, because that worthiness comes from internally. It's never gonna come from outside. And I think for so long, it was getting that degree, right? Like I did 2 majors and a minor in 4 years at ASU, and many people would see that as an accomplishment, which it was. First gen 2, which it was. And at the same time, I think a lot of my motivators at that time was proving the world, proving the United States that I was worthy of investing. And that's something that does something so hard for the spirit, that if you don't feel that sense of belongingness and that you have people around you that are gonna care for you despite of what your obstacles are. For me was being judged by not having papers, but for you it might be by being a woman, or by not having that title, or by not having that opportunity. But something that I learned as I continued to grow on and got my master's, became a teacher, went to Harvard, and did all these different things, was that that what really mattered at the end was that no matter what people would say about me, one, nobody could take away my education. Nobody could take away me going to bed and being at peace with myself, because I knew that what I was doing was not only making a difference to healing that little Reyna, but it was to providing spaces of healing for our young people to be reminded that, one, they're not alone, that they belong, and that they have a group of people that sees their value no matter where they were born. So that's what I would tell my little self, that it's gonna be okay. And yes, there's gonna be people who are gonna try to remind you that you don't belong, but there's gonna be people that are gonna ensure that are gonna tell you you matter. So focus on the good and focus on those people that got your back.
I would say that working hard is really important, but also not working at all is even better. I love my job. I think I am so lucky to be able to do what I do for the museum, but also in all the other roles I've had of being able to work with artists and providing support for them. But I love vacation.
Me too, girl.
And
me too.
You take your PTO.
Yeah.
Like, take your sick time, go get your annual exam, get your doctor's appointments. I had mine this morning. Like, it's just so important to take care of yourself and to rest, because you do work so hard.
Yes.
And that's how I ended up in this position, even without, you know, the traditional route of getting here. And I think, you know, I'm an immigrant. I came to the U.S. as a child. I got my citizenship when I was 13. And so I was the first person to go to college. Like, it was the same, like, grind, like, get your degree and go and go and go. But it's just like, that can't sustain.
No.
That's not realistic. And so, like, take a vacation, even if it's just in your apartment. Like, that's totally great. Take a bath. I'm a big bath person now. You know, I got a promotion, so it's like, I can go get a massage. Like whatever that looks like for yourself. It might just be going to the park and reading a book quietly. Like, whatever the thing is that just lets you be quiet with yourself, I think that is just, if not more important than working hard. Because you need to be able to, you can't, what is it? Like, you can't drink from a half full cup, or you can't, whatever that phrase is. Like, just, you know, finding a thing that makes you feel like you can restore yourself.
Yes.
So if I could talk to a younger version of myself, I would say that it's okay to be the one that is looking in from the outside. That it's okay to be the one that feels like you're on the out and looking inside. And that every challenge that happened and all the different components that took me to where I am today were all going to lead up to this moment, right? So that there were stories to share. And that every single one of us has an amazing story. And when I worked at Not My Kid, one of the coolest things I got to do was sit down with people and say, tell me the worst thing you've ever done in your life. We're going to package it in a little box, we're going to wrap it up, and we're going to give it as a gift for other people. It was a beautiful thing. We all have these incredible stories that then impact other people's lives, because words matter, and they have an incredible impact. And so I would say that, I would tell myself that you're just writing your story. And there are moments even now, at 42 years old, I have to remind myself I'm just writing my story for somebody else, right? To be able to give a gift of words to another person at a later point in time. And the other thing I think that I would tell myself, which is something that I'm learning right now, I don't know if you've read it, but if you haven't, please, please, please do, is the let them theory.
Yes.
And
yes.
So Mel Robbins, am I saying her last name right? I always get last names mixed up.
No, that's right.
So if you have not read it, I'm hearing rumblings, so it means some have, some haven't.
Yeah.
But the most beautiful part of this theory isn't the idea of let them, but it's the let me, right? It's this idea of being able to stay emotionally neutral enough to make the right choice so that you can really understand what is for me to learn in this and what is for me to release in this. And so I think that if I had that as a younger person, I would have saved myself a lot of shame and a lot of blame that I didn't need to carry. And so learning that, and unfortunately having to learn it as an older person and not a younger person, I would give that gift, and trying to give that gift to my beautiful daughter, who is definitely that perfectionist, and trying to tell her, like, let them not call you, let them not invite you to the party, it's okay. And as a mama, and if any of you have girls, there's nothing more gut-wrenching than that moment, right? You're like, I'm calling that mom. Yeah.
I've called some moms before.
That our stories have impact, and so it's okay to have a story.
That was beautiful.
I would say I'd tell myself two things. One, live with purpose, because with purpose you can find the drive and the grit to get where you want to go, and you'll enjoy all the moments within that period of time. And then the second thing I would say is that your network is your net worth. I am not a billionaire, I'm far from it, but I feel so wealthy because I have amazing people who surround me and support me. They've helped me, give me opportunities to be on this stage today and be amongst you wonderful women, and it's given me a lot of hope, support, love, and I think that's the toughest thing. I think we're the hardest on ourselves, and it took me a very long time to love myself, but I'm surrounded by women that do, women and men, I would say, and it just drives me to do everything every day for the sake of the purpose, and that is to serve my brothers and sisters and do what I can to help other people. And so I would say live with purpose is probably my number one.
I think we got to be the main character in our life. Like, this is my life, and that's your life. And I just want to be the main character in the movie that is my life. And no movie is any good when the main character doesn't have any hardships. And if we can start romanticizing even the crappy stuff we go through, this presidency, then maybe we can then there will be things that are born out of all the hard times that you'll look back later and you'll say, we had to go through that in order to get to where we are now. And this is our version of that. And if I went to my 15-year-old self, you're going to be such a good lawyer because you just went through this. And to my 20-year-old self, you're not going to gossip about people because you're going to learn what it's like when you're caught, and then you have no friends because you've been talking. And then now, what is the main character that I can play in my life right now? Because right now it's starting to feel like everybody else is the main character and everything else that's going on around me is the main character. But I'm still the writer and director and producer and the star of my show. And so are you. And so it's your only life. Be really mindful about what you're doing with it.
I love that.
I think to my younger self, and these are still some of the same inner dialogues I have with my now midlife self, is first, slow down. I was always in a hurry. I didn't really have any models or blueprints to follow for how I should develop my life and my career, so I just hustled for years, lots of hustle. And I'm grateful because I'm here now and I love what I do, but at about that mid-career point, I was unhappy and I just started kind of checking in with myself. Am I doing what I want to be doing? Am I at where I want to be? Do I feel good about it? And sometimes, a few times over the course of my life and career, those check-ins have led me to swerve or leap or make a big change. And I'm really grateful for that. But it takes a lot of my panel of experts, my circle of women around me to have those check-ins. Because when you're in the thick of it, you don't see things clearly. And I've had friends say things like, Jess, your job is freaking killing you. And I'm like, no, I love my job. They're like, no, you don't. It is crushing your soul. You got to get out of your job. And I'm like, I can't. I love my job. I get these kids. And when you have those check-ins, it's really sobering sometimes. Like, oh, I am miserable. Oh, I don't really like it here. And so I have done things. I've made leaps. I've moved 5 times over the course of my education and career. And I'm grateful for every one of those opportunities. Because after the fact, like right at this moment, I am where I need to be. I'm doing what I need to be, and I'm happy with that. There will come a point also, and now I think my midlife self is knowing that there will come a point where that's not true, and it's time to do something different. So that reality and that knowing to check in and be ready to pivot, and maybe it's a little pivot. You know, maybe I need a new hairstyle. I don't need to move across the country every time. But it's valuable, and I think that's what keeps me evolving, and it just keeps me happy, because at the end of the day, that's what matters.
I love everything that you guys have said, and I hope you guys take time to talk to your younger self and also talk to yourself now and love yourself and thank yourself for where you're at. And I want to just thank you, women on this stage, for being vulnerable, talking about all the amazing things. And thank you guys, because we did go over time. I'm sorry. It was just a lot of good conversation. But if you would like to stay after to ask questions to the panelists, please feel free to do so. And thank you to the Phoenix Art Museum for this amazing opportunity. True gratitude for creating space and great energy and just a safe space for us to be vulnerable, to do that and to create community. So thank you.